Hey, how's it going? You're listening to Bottom of the Glass, a podcast dedicated to sharp takes, movie reviews, and conversations best had over a glass. Each episode, we break down movies and TV, scene by scene, until there's nothing left, on the screen or in the glass. I'm your host, Chad. So today we're gonna have a solo episode. It's just gonna be me. Right now it's Thursday night. It's been kind of a crazy week. So I'll talk a little bit about my week before we get to what we're going to talk about. Today we're going to do a episode one review of Night of the Seven Kingdom, the new Game of Thrones show. I can talk a little bit about it. I listened to the books on audio tape twice, two or three times each. I've listened to all three of them. There's three novellas that this show is based on. Season one is the first book, which is a pretty short listen on the audiobook. And the audiobook, most audiobooks I'm not a fan of. They're usually hard to listen to, but they have the guy who played Viserys in season one of Game of Thrones, Daenerys' sister, the kind of like douchey brother. He does the audio, and he does a really, really good job. It's a really easy listen. I listen to it while I'm working. I can listen to the whole thing in one day, all three books in one day. I've done it like three times now. I made sure I re-listened to it last week before the show came out. So I didn't actually watch the show until Monday instead of my Sunday night. I had an interesting Sunday. Somebody slid because of the snow. They slid into my lane, hit my car. So my car's a little screwed up this week. So I had a little head ache for a couple days, and I had Monday off because of it. I worked Tuesday, Wednesday, and then today I had to go figure out about rentals and doing a bunch of stuff. So back to work tomorrow, and so I'm not sure exactly how it's gonna how my weekend's gonna go for recording. I know I'll probably get an episode in, at least solo. I'm gonna try to do another one. And I'm going to make sure I get my Game of Thrones one out a little earlier next week for episode two of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So, it's been a crazy week. I usually like lift multiple times a week. If you guys know me, you know I do kickboxing, do jiu-jitsu. I used to fight, but now I just kind of coach and train. So I haven't gone to the gym at all because I haven't had a car. I've had to get rides all week. But I will. I'm working tomorrow, picking up a rental tomorrow night. So Saturday morning, I'll be back in the gym, probably hitting pads. Gonna take a break from jiu-jitsu for a week just for my head. And then Sunday, I'm gonna lift Sunday morning because Monday morning I'll be driving to work in a snowstorm. So probably not gonna try to get up at 4 to hit the gym on Monday morning when I gotta be driving to work. It'll take me a little longer. So yeah. This is Bottom of the Glass, so we do have a drink. Honestly, I don't drink much during the week. I'm having a Coke, but I'm gonna have a small glass of these patties. It's a little whiskey. So I'm gonna pour that. All right. Boom. Cheers. That's like not the best whiskey. It's kind of like a cheaper Irish. Hits you a little weird. All right. So, House of Dragon, not House of Dragon. That comes out in like June, which I can't wait for season 3. Because if you've read the books, see the end of it gets really, really good. But Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the novella. I'm gonna do not like scene by scene, but I'm gonna do a little bit of a review of the episode. I'm gonna talk about there's I'm not gonna do any spoilers for like the book, the first book we're talking about, Night of the Seven. It's called The Hedge Knight, so that's the first book. The whole three books are called Night of the Seven Kingdoms, but Hedge Knight is book one, which is going to be season one of this show. There are only 6 episodes. They're shorter episodes. They're around like between 30 and 40 minutes, depending on the episode. But it makes sense because these are like shorter stories. The good thing about that for this show is they're easier to easier for someone who can just casually watch it. You don't need to be like Game of Thrones. There's so much, so many different storylines, and even the way in the books when they would write the books, putting that to the season is hard because you have so many different people's perspectives, and the way they do it in the book is kind of based off each person's a lot of inner monologue. And there's some obviously talking, but it's you're in different people's perspectives. This is really one person's perspective. Our main character Dunk, or later we find out by the end of episode one, Sir Duncan the Tall, which his name gets brought up in Game of Thrones. So it's not like a brand new name. Even I wouldn't say that if Game of Thrones HBO didn't use that from the show as like a way to advertise. They showed a little scene with Joffrey talking about him to Jamie. Um, so I'm gonna kind of break down some of it, and there are some things that are I'll mention that aren't in the book. That doesn't really change anything. But some of those scenes are like the better scenes. I know some of the characters. I'm not the best at memorizing everyone's name to the full, exact, but I should be able to name everyone, most of the people in the first episode at least. Uh, I'm also gonna by the end I'll talk about some of like I'll do like a little book spoiler thing. I will as I go through it. I will talk about like oh that's like a direct line from the book. There's a lot of those, so I will mention that. It's nothing that's gonna spoil anything. But if you don't want to hear that kind of stuff, then you don't have to watch this. That's fine. Um, yeah. So right away, the way it starts is you meet our main character, Dunk. Duncan the Tall. So the way they do this is Dunk is a squire for a hedge knight. Hedge knight, they're lower knights. They live among the hedges, so they don't have like a castle they stay under unless they take service for some lord or something. Uh, his his uh, his knight that he was under, he dies in the beginning, right? He's already dead. He's burying him. This is exactly like the book where he's burying him. Um, so he buries him, and then he takes his horses. Uh, well, I can't remember exactly the horse's name. Sweetfoot, something, something, Thunder. But a lot of the way they do in the books is a lot of the dialogue that he's thinking or saying is in his head. So it's interesting to see that now in the episode one, he's he's talking. A lot of it is him talking to the horses, so you can get that inner monologue out without just him talking because he had to have something to say to, right? So now he's talking to the horses, which I think was a really good idea for them to do it because that's one of the things where I was like, all right, that's going to be one of the harder things for them to do. Uh, so he's talking a lot to the horses. They kind of tell you that the night that he was working under, I'm trying to think of his name, Daru. I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. So the night that he was under, he dies because of it was a cold rain. So the cold rain killed him. He was a really older knight too. So and he kind of mentions it right in the episode one where he's like it's in the books. It's kind of ambiguous where you go like, did this guy actually make you a knight? And in this, it's really similar. They kind of show him like him talking to him like, and then you'll make me a knight, and the guy just kind of ignores him. Kind of how the book does it. It doesn't quite tell you, but you can kind of like we kind of think that he never actually got made a knight, but he's just making himself a knight. And honestly, the Seven Kingdoms needed better knights, so I think having a moral knight was fine. Sir Duncan's not perfect, but when it comes down, it kind of this episode tells you right away. This is a story about morality, about being a real, true knight. Because most of the knights of the Seven Kingdom, as we find out in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, they're not all about protecting the innocent. They're more about getting money, getting power. Sir Duncan Hall has his faults, but he is at least in the three novellas or at least in this story, he's a true knight. What you expect. He that's kind of what the story is about. Him fighting his own urges to do things to better himself, but also to be a good knight. Um, yeah. So he he does all that. He gets some money because he's got armor. He's got some stuff from the net from his master or lord or whatever you want. Not lord, but it'd be like his. He was a squire to his knight. So he gets a little bit of money. He goes to an inn. He's going to Ashford Meadow, which is it's going to be like a joust and tournament, right? So these tournaments they show in Game of Thrones a lot. It starts out in Game of Thrones season 1. You see it for it's the for the hand does it kind of begrudgingly. Ned does it because Robert wants him to do it. He does. They have one there. This is the one where you see Sir the Hound and the Mountain kind of have that little clash after uh yeah. So after they have the clash, where he blocks the sword, kind of helps out the other guy. Um, when the Mountain trying to kill him, and the Hound comes in and stops him, and then he cuts the horse's head off. That's like that. There's also the one to start House of Dragon, Viserys's son's name day tournament. We got that one. You see Damon is like hits the horse with the which is super like in this thing you can that's not good. You're not supposed to do that, but he hits the horse and the guy flies. That's the Hightower guy, and then he loses to uh, when he loses to that other guy. So you see that in there. Uh, these are all like some big tournaments. There's obviously the one that happens before the one at Harrenhal. That's the one that is talked about, uh, where Robert Baratheon sees Rhaegar Targaryen give the Martell give his like pretty much confesses his love to Ned Stark's sister, right, and starts the war that of Seven Kingdoms that ends in the Battle of Trident, where Robert Baratheon becomes the king. So these are like big, but in this time right now, this is in the middle between House of Dragon and Game of Thrones. So there's no dragons. If you've watched Game of Thrones, there's no dragons at the start of it. This is in the middle. There's no, 100 years before Game of Thrones. There's no dragons. The Targaryens are in charge. You're gonna meet them next episode. Um, but I would say like I've heard other people talk about this too. I'm not the only one. Not just like my brain coming up with this, but this is pretty like in the books. If you read the book, if you listen or read the books, it's kind of talks about this a little. Targaryens aren't at like full power. There's just like a civil war 15 years before this tournament. So the Targaryens are coming to like this smaller tournament, Ashford Meadows. They're coming because they're trying to like show their power, show their dominance. So they're going to all even these smaller tournaments because they don't have the dragons anymore. So they can't just like dominate everybody with dragons. Now they actually have to like show their power, right? By going to these tournaments and showing how great they are. So that's why they're going to this tournament. And then Sir Duncan the Tall is going to this dunk. I'm going to call him Dunk, but he's going to this tournament just to prove himself to make money. He needs to make money. He needs to make maybe he can win a match and he can have a lord take him in. These kind of things. He's just trying to represent, and he kind of knows as you can see in episode 1. He kind of knows he's not one of the best knights. He's not one of these guys. Some of these guys who are there, like Sir Lionel Baratheon. Yeah. So let me just I'm gonna pull some names up just so I have them. Cause I'm gonna keep messing names up. So, da, 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 da. Knight of the Seven Kingdom cast. I just want to have the cast so I don't keep messing the names up. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I was right. So Lionel Baratheon. So he's the Laughing Storm they call him. So you meet him in it. He's like a really good character, really fun character in season 1. So he does that. He's on his way to the thing. He stops at the inn. There's no one really there because they're all going to the tournament. He has money find a little bit at least. So he's using it. He's getting a bunch of food. You can see that. And this is where he meets Egg. Again, I'm not going to talk about any spoilers, but they didn't already bring up in the show. So he meets Egg. He thinks he's like a stable boy or whatever. He thinks he's like a regular stable boy, which he, to be continued. So he tells Egg he can't. Pretty much, Egg wants to be a squire. He says no, and then he heads to the tournament. When he gets there, his big thing now is he needs to prove that he's a knight. The problem is the only person that ever knew him was his old knight that he was under. So uh, yeah, Sir Arlen of Pennytree. Yeah, that's what his name. I just thought of it. Yeah, Sir Arlen of Pennytree. So, but most of these, he only really knows Sir Arlen because he was a squire for such a long time. Most of these people don't know him he's just a squire. So they have no proof that he was turned a knight. So he's got to go around try to find this guy to prove that he is. So that's kind of where we are in the story. We get this kind of cool stuff that they add to the show from in the book. I'm not going to go into like spoilers, but in the book you don't get Lionel Baratheon as much right away. He comes a little more into the story, but because it's the show, they give him a really cool scene in season 1 that people seem to like. Yeah. So you get this like, well, first actually we meet the Sir Stephen Fosterway and his cousin Raymond Fosterway. Sir Stephen's the one who's beating up Raymond in the yard, and he's got the red apple is their that's like their symbol or whatever, their crest. So they're both Fosterways. He's a knight, and Sir Raymond is his squire, and you kind of see it right away when Sir Duncan's talking to Raymond Fossaway, who's a really cool character in the books, and so far I like him in this one too. And he's talking to him, and he's bringing him to the tent. That's where you go see you meet Lionel. This is like the scene they made for the show, but it works really good. So you can see it right there where he knows he's not like he's like impressed by Raymond. He's like, oh, you're not a knight. I would have thought you were because again, this guy's a guy who's just trained by this old knight, and he's not Arlen of Pennytree. He's not used to this. He's not really quite ready. They do age up the character in the books, which they do in all of their shows. In the books he's like 15, and then in this show he's, obviously this guy's in his 20s. Well, whatever age they want to have him as. I mean, I don't know exactly, maybe 21 or something. But the actor's probably like 28, 30. But still, I think the actor is doing a really, really good job at playing this character, this somewhat like out of his depth character. But this guy is obviously really big, which he'll talk about a lot. That's why he becomes right at the end. He decides to be Sir Duncan the Tall, because before that he's just Dunk. He didn't even know that his name was Duncan until Egg says it to him, right? But you get this whole scene where he goes in the tent, and this is where you get the best. Like you get Lionel Baratheon, who's just one of the coolest. I think all the Baratheons are just cool characters. Obviously, like sort of like Robert Baratheon. I would love to see like a prequel series about the Trident and all that, right? And then they could add like there's some of that stuff in there that we don't even really know exactly what happened. So I would love to see that. But we'll take one show as we can get it. We still want a Jon Snow post thing. We got George R. R. Martin has like 100 books he probably won't write, so we'll see how that goes. But he goes in and he meets Lionel Baratheon. Now, Lionel Baratheon right away is saying, telling him that he's shrugging, telling him to be tall. They have this kind of whole scene where they do this crazy dance that everyone really likes. I thought it was really funny. I just thought Lionel Baratheon just stole the screen when he was on. And then, but then even at the end of this scene, he's like, I can't help you. He's pretty much, you got to help yourself. This is what it is. You're not, he's like, obviously he pretty much tells him, like, you're not one of these guys, which is true. So, So yeah, we get to that point. We find out the egg has stowed away. He's like cooking the fish, right? Uh, so we find out he's stowed away on onto the into his like uh with him, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna let this kid be my squire because he does. He realizes kind of right away, and you realize right away too. The egg knows a lot. He's like a wicked smart kid, really young, and the actor does him plays him is doing a really good job of showing that he's like kind of rebellious, uh, but he's also like and kind of wants to help Dunk too because he's right away he's like I've never heard of. He's like, have you heard of All Knights? And he's like all the good ones, which is true, right? Egg is he does, and you'll see farther along, but he knows all these good knights. He knows who they are, and he's going to help them throughout this season one with it. But right away, like you kind of see their back and forth is really good. Um, Again, this is not like a super action packed episode. You're going to get a couple of those, obviously, but not. It's only 6 episode season. You're obviously going to see some. We're going to see some stuff from the Astro Meadow fights. And then there's some stuff in the finale that I can't talk about. But yeah, it's really good. It's gonna be really good. I'm excited to see it. This is again. I think this is gonna be great for people who just want like a small condensed story. This is almost gonna be. It's just like two people together. It's Dunk and Egg. The three novellas. They kind of call them just the tales of Dunk and Egg. Uh, there's three. The three novellas are all really really good. I'm hoping that George R. R. Martin. He said he's got a bunch more he wants to write. I'm hoping he just focuses on writing those and not tries to write the other Game of Thrones books because it's just like the shows. There's just so much going on in those ones. It's really hard to write them all and keep everything flowing nice. But these novellas contain stories, so you can do it a lot easier. And I think they're like really really good. They're like for me. I love Game of Thrones. My favorite. I love House Dragon. Uh, I love Damon. I can't wait to see some of the stuff that happens with Damon because I know from the books. But these novellas, the three, are just like they're some of my favorite. And then I really want to see. I know because you kind of know where Sir Duncan gets into in his story later on. And I really want those novellas to come out so we can follow this up to like 6, 7 seasons if he can write more books. But we at least have these three, which are going to be great. So just next episode we're gonna meet more Targaryens. We're gonna meet some other really cool characters in this season one. Again, we're mostly just gonna be in Sir Duncan the Tall's perspective with Egg there. Yeah. We also didn't see you see the Dornish people. There's they're like the puppet people. They have the puppet dragon, which is crazy cool effects. I mean, not like not like CGI, but they're like real effects. That was really cool. The dragon in the book seems like it's a lot smaller of a puppet, but this was like very elaborate. Again, this is just like the Targaryens. It's funny to see it because you're like, oh, these Targaryens are so powerful, but right here it's just a dragon. They don't even, it's been what hundreds of years or I don't know exact since there were dragons, maybe 100 or something. And we've had multiple civil wars already. Targaryens love to fight each other. They love to kill each other. I really love the rebellion that happens before this, the Blackwater rebellion, the Black Fire, whatever. There's like the rebellion they have the Targaryens. It's really cool. Again, I'm not like an expert on this. I've just listened to them like these books like once or twice. I'm not an expert, but I really like the sound of that story with um the bastards and all that Targaryens fighting the other ones. So I hope we get some of that kind of stuff later on too. Um, yeah. So then after I'm gonna do all right. So that was just kind of my little synopsis of episode one. Again, I watched this way earlier in the week. I had kind of a crazy week because of everything I told you about. So next week the episode will go a little bit easier and a little smoother. And I'm gonna try to do like an actual also like a YouTube reaction to the episode too. I just gotta figure out the stuff, get my cameras and all that. Um, but I do want to do a little like couple minute. Actually, I was gonna do a book spoiler, but I'll do like a little 5 minute, not even 5 minute, couple minute book spoiler to what we're gonna get next week. So if you don't want to hear anything about next week, don't listen, or like the previous episode. So, all right, spoiler, 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 spoiler. Okay, so next week we're gonna meet the Targaryens. We're gonna meet. We should be meeting Darren Targaryen, who or an Aryan Targaryen. So, and I don't think we'll meet. We might be Baelor Targaryen next week, or like maybe see him, but I'm not sure. So Aryan Targaryen, he's gonna be. He's like the kind of what's the actor? It's Finn Bennett is gonna play him. So, all right, we've probably I don't know if you've seen him. He's been in. Let's see. He's been in like some True Detective, Night Country, and stuff. So he's kind of like gonna be the kind of like the big bad in this show for season one. Sorry about that. So it's gonna be exciting to see. This guy's like a real douchebag in the books. Um, yeah, and so we know that it's gonna be a problem with him and Snug the Tall later on in the show, not right away, and probably I'm guessing season 3 or 4 we're gonna get to the conflict where he's attacking uh he's like was he attacking what's her name Tenzel, Too Tall Tenzel or whatever. That's the girl that who's the puppet master of the dragon that he Sir Duncan the Tall really likes in the book. Yeah, he every time he sees her, he's like a virgin in the book to start at least. So he's like very horny. So every time he sees her, he says she's not too tall for me because he's like supposed to be 7 feet in the books. I think the actor is like 6'10", but he's still pretty tall. He always says she's not too tall for me. So he's gonna be attacking her, and Sir Duncan the Tall is obviously gonna defend her, bust out like a tooth or whatever of the Targaryen of Aryans Targaryen's mouth, and then we're gonna have this whole issue here, and we're gonna find out about Egg, which I'm not gonna even say right here because I want to get farther on. Because if you are just listening on, I want you to watch. But yeah, so that's gonna happen. We're gonna get to the trial by 7. Again, I'm just not gonna talk too much about. 'Cause I want to get farther in the show before I spoil everything. If you're going ahead of the spoilers, I still don't want to do like a full spoiler. I just want to give you little things. So the trial of 7 is gonna be awesome. That's really what we're getting to. It's gonna be. I'm guessing episode 5, maybe 6. Depends how they do it. They might do it in 6 and then end the episode with the kind of the ending of Duncan Egg going on. And then episode 2, season 2, I mean, we're gonna have if they already are. I heard they're already starting the filming or they're already starting like the prep for it. That's gonna be um what's that actually called? Make sure I tell you the right name. Night of the Seven Kingdoms. The first one is a hedge night. Second one I want to say is like book 2. What's the actual name? I just call them Duncan Egg novellas. So the second one is gonna be Sword, which is gonna be them two going on. They're gonna be like defending, helping somebody kind of protect their like water and do all this, and there's gonna be some conflict in that, and the fact that maybe they're helping somebody that doesn't deserve their help, or maybe they do. We'll find out. And then the third one's the Mystery Night, which is like my favorite of the 3. So I'm really excited for that one. That and the first one. I really like the end of a hedge night. So those are the 3 seasons that we have to expect. As long as the second one's definitely getting made. So as long as the second one does good, then we get the third one. There's some people that don't love this one. There's like mixed audience reviews. I think it's great. Again, this is not Game of Thrones. This is going to be smaller, contained stories. The shorter episodes I usually hate, but it makes sense for this. I honestly think you could have done this in like a 2.5 hour movie. It made it pretty good. And then we get this, and then in June we get House of the Dragon season 3, which season 3, season 4, we're gonna get probably one of the cooler things in it. Battle of the God's Eye. If you know, you know. That's what I'm really, really excited about for that show. Really, after that, I'm like, ending's cool, but that's really what I want to see. Uh, yeah. So that was it for this episode. For at least for a Night of the Seven Kingdoms talk. On Saturday, we have the UFC. I might do like an episode tomorrow, just talking a little bit about the card. We got some good fights. I'm actually gonna pull them up just so I can mention them. We got Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett in the main event, which is an exciting fight. One of those fights where I wouldn't, if you asked me a year ago, I wouldn't have thought it was even possible that was going to be a main event. That's an interim lightweight fight. I think it'll be a really good fight. I don't know if either of those guys really deserve to be a title fight. Again, no shade. Gaethje's a legend. But, just I really would like to see Armin have that fight. Then um, we have O'Malley and Sa Yadong song, which is really, really good fight. We also have a heavyweight fight, Lewis versus Acosta. Rose is back in there fighting Silva. And then we have Arnold Allen and Silva, which is for featherweight, which Silva, really good power, really good knockout guy. I really like Arnold Allen's boxing, so that'll be an interesting fight. I'm gonna do a little bit of a breakdown probably tomorrow night of that card, a little more, and then my plan right now is to do a or do a companion of the Saturday night fights and post that with a couple buddies from the gym. Again, I kind of got to see how my weekend goes with the car situation and driving and all that. Hopefully, I can get a car. And then I'm going to see how bad the weather is Saturday. If it's supposed to snow a lot this weekend. So if it's not Saturday night, snowing really, then I'll go. Otherwise, I'm just going to watch it at my house. And then I'll do a solo kind of review of it. And then hopefully get back to, just my dog. Hopefully get back to another regular podcast with Miles or my other buddies to break down another movie soon. Yeah. So, all right, everybody. Thank you for watching my show or listening or whatever you're doing. I hope you have a great Friday tomorrow. Or if I don't post this tomorrow, I hope you have a great Friday. Hope you have a great weekend. If you're in New England, be safe over the weekend with the snow. Yeah. Thank you. Bottom of the glass. Peace out.